Hey luminaries, we are back today to talk about powerful Scorpio. Yes, you have Scorpio somewhere in your chart, and this shows us where you need to tap into your authentic power and intuition to make decisions in your business. When Scorpio is operating at its highest vibration, it is a magnet. People cannot resist the energy of a Scorpio living her fullest life. And, it doesn't have to be sex appeal. It doesn't have to be manipulation. It's just living in embodied, authentic power. So today we're going to talk all about what exactly that means and how you can tap into that too. Aloha! Welcome to the Savvy Luminary, an astrology podcast for entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Leslie Tagorda, an Aquarius boss woman, a brand designer, and business astrologer. I help visionary spiritual entrepreneurs and impact makers just like you reach your highest potential and become the luminaries you are star-charted to be. Earlier today, I was Zooming with my most magical friend, the Indigenous medicine woman, Asha Frost. We've been become business besties over the last year, and we get together to just talk about what's on our mind, what's happening in our business. And I was mentioning how I was having a difficult time showing up authentically on social media. I feel like I've been having trouble connecting and not really wanting to tell my personal stories. And I think the inner dialogue in my head is just thinking that, hey, no one really wants to hear my stories. They just want to hear about themselves and all about astrology. And she reminded me that when she reads the astrology reports that I write for her group, Sacred, that she sees, she's a visionary. She's this amazing medicine woman. You should definitely check her out, Asha Frost. Anyway, she sees these guides channeling through me. And I was like, oh, I got really curious. I was like, can you really see those guides? What do they look like? Because I mentioned to her that when I write her star medicine reports for her group, I literally every time I work, and especially for her work, I open up a session with my spirit guides, bringing in these specific spiritual guides that I work with in my business. And after I bring in the guides, I ask for what I want support in doing. When I'm writing for Asha, I ask my guides to help me write her star medicine that will really serve her members in the way that they are ready to be guided. And also from the place of the theme of that medicine that Asha will be working with that month. Then I get to writing, right? I literally get out of my head and imagine myself speaking through Asha, referring back to the astrological events that are happening in that month to guide the energy and questions that want to come forth. After I'm done writing, only at the end do I reread and edit, and I'm always amazed at the outcome. And so I told Asha that was my process, and she said, yes, I see that. And then she reminded me, don't you think that your people want to hear that process and your story? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, of course they do. And so today's episode really is about trusting, right? Trusting in our intuition, trusting in our spirit guides, our ancestors, whoever you might work with in your business, and eliminating everything else, eliminating all of that toxic mind trash that comes through our mind and getting deep under the emotions into the deepest being, our authentic power, our Scorpio power. Right? I've been a professional astrologer now for a couple of years, right? I've been a lifelong lover of astrology. I might have mentioned that before, but I haven't really been doing it professionally until just recently. I've been doing branding for the last, 15 years, and it was only recently that I really started bringing in astrology. And I remember when I was first started giving my professional readings, I would over prepare. Like I would spend like hours and hours studying somebody's chart, figuring everything out and not really trusting that I already knew enough to give them a reading. And I would go into these readings and they'd be okay. They'd be okay. They weren't great, but I kept on hearing my intuition saying, stop preparing so much. Just relax and feel into things. And it took me a while to listen to my intuition, right? I finally took the leap of faith. And, also when I'm giving an astrology reading for clients, I called in my spirit guides. And I now have this process that before a session, just like when I'm writing for Asha, I ask my guides to guide me and to speak through me to provide the information that my customers are ready to hear. Because sometimes, people are not ready to hear certain things. And like, that's the worst thing for an astrologer to do. And so I need guidance. I need help from my spirit guides to help me channel the information that they are ready to hear. So finally, when I would get into a session, like my new process, I hear my customers ask me their questions and hear their thoughts, and I can literally see their natal charts light up. I can see the energies and the archetypes speaking through them. And in turn, when I speak back, I literally become like a channel, and the words come through me and go directly to their hearts. It just like kind of pours out of me. I don't exactly know how to explain it. And I was really amazed when Asha told me that she could see that part of me. She could see the spirit guides speaking through me, because when I'm in my zone and doing astrology readings and talking to astrology about, a certain person and hearing them, I really get into this very intuitive zone. And it took me a long time to get out of my own way of over preparing and overthinking things, and to trust my inner knowing and to trust my intuition and my spirit guides to speak through me. Now, I don't know how this works for you. I know that there is part of you and your work when this happens, that kind of flow state. And I put this all up to Scorpio, because for me, when I look at my chart, Scorpio is my sixth house ruler, and sixth house is service to others. So of course, when I am serving my customers, when I'm offering my gifts to other people, my intuition comes through loud and clear. So where does this happen for you? So today, as we are talking about Scorpio and trusting in our intuition and eliminating all those unnecessary things that get in the way, I want us to be centered in a quote by Albert Einstein. Okay, he says, before I say what he says, Albert Einstein, he's known as this great scientist, this great astrophysicist, this great mathematician. He's known from his like very intellectual pursuits, but he also loved playing the violin, and he was also very spiritual. I believe that's what made him such a great scientist, such a great mathematician, because he used his intuition and faith. And he sums it up perfectly, of course, his own words. I believe in intuitions and inspirations. I sometimes feel that I'm right. I do not know that I am. So to me, what he is saying is like, yeah, we don't, all right, sometimes our knowing, our logical knowing based in the ego, right, is like is trying to keep us protected, right? So it's telling us, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. And all this fear and unknowing comes up. But when we dig down and go a little bit deeper, this is when our feeling takes over based in emotions and intuition. I just love that. So before we dive in and learn about Scorpio, I want to ground and center our energy here. So today, our mantra for the episode is going to be, I am a channel and trust in my intuition to work through me. We're going to be using that centering theme to really get to the core teachings of Scorpio energy. So if you wouldn't mind to make space, to feel into your body, to ground your feet if you are able to. Plant your feet in the ground and take a deep breath and repeat after me. I am a channel and trust in my intuition to work through me. Beautiful. All right. So, Scorpio season officially starts this week on Thursday, October 22nd, as the sun moves into Scorpio season at 4 p.m. Pacific and 7 p.m. Eastern. Now, of course, we are already feeling Scorpio season because we are in the middle of our Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. So, you've been hearing me talk about intuition already because Mercury is giving us our prescription, the RX, to rethink how we want to use our intuition in our business. So I know I talked a lot about that in 2 episodes ago in episode 37. So you can go back and check that out if you haven't already listened to it. But now we're going to go a little bit deeper. I really want to go deep into the Scorpio psychographics, the archetype, what I call the astrographics, and how we are all meant to use this in our life and our businesses. For whatever reason, I have a ton of Scorpio rising clients. I have like so many, like I don't have even enough fingers to count all of them, or toes to count all of my Scorpio risings. So, for all of you Scorpio rising customers out there, shout out to you. I keep on reminding my Scorpio rising customers that Scorpio is probably the most powerful zodiac of all. Now, this is not to diss on other signs because you know what? We all have Scorpio somewhere in our charts, and I'm going to cover that. But the reason why Scorpio is so powerful is that because it's so deep, right? It's a fixed water sign. So the fixed signs like Aquarius and Leo and Scorpio, right? Oh gosh, and Taurus, can't forget Taurus. These fixed signs love to problem solve, right? They're not necessarily ones that can like go with the flow and change things up, but they like to dive deep into things. They like to investigate. They like to learn things in non-superficial ways, right? Like, as a Gemini rising, sometimes I can't really relate to the Scorpio because I like to know a lot of things about a lot of things. And Scorpio is like, I want to know a lot of things about one thing, right? And as a water sign, Scorpio is not only a healer, but it's definitely based in feelings, and even deeper than that, this deep fixed water, it goes straight to the root of our authentic power, our intuition. Now, when we think about feminine power, right, there is a growing movement about the pleasure power and the power of the pussy. And I think that there is a lot of validity in this because when we think about Scorpio, right, when somebody is judging a Scorpio, especially a Scorpio woman, they'll talk about that Scorpio person as like using her sex appeal to manipulate or using her sex to gain power. Now, yes, that is definitely part of the Scorpio archetype, but it goes deeper than that. Now, we always talk about, well, I've always talked about all of the zodiacs living on a spectrum, right? From a low vibration to a high vibration. And Scorpio embodies this so much because Scorpio wants to go deep. Scorpio wants to talk about emotions and intuition. And because Scorpio is so powerful, the biggest challenge for a Scorpio to understand is to trust. Now, sometimes shadow versions of Scorpio will be like distrusting of others, but more than likely, the greatest lesson that a Scorpio, anybody who has Scorpio, well, we all have Scorpio, but anybody who has like a major Scorpio archetype, like sun, moon, or rising, the biggest thing that they need to learn is how to trust themselves, right? The things like sex and other taboo things, the reason why they are attached to Scorpio is because Scorpio can hold space for these intense emotions, intense feelings, intense places of where authentic transformation happens, right? So when I meet a lot of Scorpio people, it makes sense that maybe they're coaches, but they could be counselors or psychotherapists, like they're that good at getting into the root, fixed signs, getting into the roots of the problems. Or I've met a ton of Scorpio lawyers because they're so investigative. They're always finding the gray areas in legal documents, in words, in language. Also like other scientists, investigative scientists, we find a lot of Scorpio there, right? And the idea of Scorpio and this intensity is there's this other factor about Scorpio, which is detoxifying and eliminating. In traditional astrology and like kind of health astrology, Scorpio rules the elimination process in our bodies. And of course, it also rules the sexual organs in our bodies. And so we're thinking about the elimination process, just from the fact of like people go and poop, right? We're eliminating the waste. The Virgo process in our bodies is the process that absorbs all the nutrients and organizes it in our body so that we can use the energies in our body, but everything else needs to be taken out of our body, detoxified from our body, eliminated from our body, and that is Scorpio, right? That's why we can think of Scorpio as being so intense, is because it's like getting rid of things that are just like not needed. That's why truth is so important to Scorpio, because it doesn't want to be bogged down with all of like these false niceties. It just wants to get to the core truth of an issue. And so for Scorpio, things can be very black and white, binary, meaning it's like yes or no. There isn't much gray area for people who have a lot of Scorpio or other fixed energies. At its highest vibration, right? I mentioned Scorpio trusts itself. Scorpio trusts in its own power. And when we talk about authentic power, I'm really talking about, yes, intuition, yes, emotional integrity, but understanding where one's power truly comes from, right? And that's going to be different for everybody, right? And so it takes a lifetime of self-reflection, to really understand where your authentic power comes from. Scorpios are also intense. They have such deep presence and they are true transformers, right? I mentioned earlier counseling, because you're transforming somebody's like beliefs about themselves, or the alchemists, right? The people who are using magic or spirituality or the cult to bring the shadows into the light. That's high vibration Scorpio. Now, at the lowest vibration of Scorpio, right? This is where we come into the power over others, right? Because Scorpio is all about power. And when it learns to trust itself, it's going to then share and empower others. High vibration Scorpio. Low vibration Scorpio, on the other hand, uses that power over others to manipulate, to shame, to blame, to create insecurity in others, right? And so you can even think of just like a person as, a young child versus a grown adult. A young child, I know a young Scorpio girl, and I see her using her low vibrations of Scorpio all the time, always wanting to tell secrets, always wanting to play tricks, always, kind of like coercing her friends, even at this young age, to tell lies to their parents. And I see her, and I hope that as she gets older, that she really understands how to harness this power and use it so that she can share her power, because she is magnetic. She is very, very powerful. And, as we get older, as we mature, it's our responsibility to use our authentic power in ways that serve all. So a couple other Scorpio facts, right? Scorpio has two rulers. Its traditional ruler, planetary ruler, is Mars, right? Like drive, even thinking about Mars and the physical aspects of drive, like the sex drive, that's Scorpio. And also the modern ruler of Pluto, the great intensifier, right? right? Pluto, who likes to break things down, right, through the distillation process. So when we think about these two powerful archetypes ruling Scorpio, gosh, we can just, look at your chart and see where Mars, see where Pluto lives in your chart. It's going to give you more insight as to where your Scorpio energy is to be directed, right? So when we think about the archetypal energies based on like the planets and the luminaries in our chart, if you have Scorpio at any of these, this is how you'll be using your authentic power and intuition. So again, if you have your first house, your rising sign as a Scorpio, you lead and guide. If you have a sun in Scorpio, you create and radiate using your intuition. If you have your moon in Scorpio, you feel and heal using your intuition. If you have Mercury in Scorpio, right, you think and express. Think and express is Mercury using your intuition. Venus now is the energy that loves to attract and connect with others. So of course, if your Venus is in Scorpio, you use this using your authentic power and intuition. Again, you have to understand what your authentic power and intuition is. But if you have it in Venus, this is how you connect with others, how you call them in. Now, if you have Mars, one of the rulers of Scorpio in Scorpio, you motivate and energize using your authentic power and intuition. Every time I keep on saying like authentic power, the thing that just keeps on coming to me, forgive me, is just like pussy power. I've had pussy on the mind lately because I've been reading several books about pussy empowerment and reclaiming the sacred pussy. And so, thinking about a woman's authentic power, centering from her place of pleasure, it makes so much sense. Now, if you have Jupiter in Scorpio, you expand and believe and vision using your intuition. If you have Saturn, the power that contracts, but it also builds and gives structure using your intuition. If you have Uranus in Scorpio, you innovate and individuate using your intuition and authentic power. Now, if you have Neptune in Scorpio, the spiritual Neptune, you get into flow and inspire using your authentic power and your intuition. And lastly, if you have Pluto, the other ruler of Scorpio, which I know a lot of you do, you intensify and distill using your authentic power and intuition. Gosh, all of the Pluto and Scorpio people, you have such a powerful job to bring spiritual entrepreneurship and spiritual leadership to the fore, right? Like feminine, soft powers. Enough of this old boys club power. We're done with that. Now, of course, in our natal chart, we have the chart divided into 12 houses, and the 8th house is ruled by Scorpio. And so in the 8th house is the kind of the area in your business that has anything to do with like shared resources, right? So if you think about debts and liabilities in your business, those would be shared resources, right? So if you have a lot of 8th house activation, you might be someone who really can leverage debt to, not as a liability, but as an asset. Right? 8th house also rules traditionally death and taxes, right? Taxes are, again, other people's money. Death because of inheritances or that transformation process, right? The 12th house is also a house of endings. The 8th house has a little bit of that. You notice they're both water houses for the astro geeks out there. And 8th house also rules like the mystical, right? The magical, the occult, the things that happen in the deep, dark secrets. So maybe you have a planet or a luminary in Scorpio, and that's going to just give you more information on, if it's your sun sign in Scorpio, you emanate Scorpio energy. If it's your moon sign, you have this internal need to be driven by Scorpio. I won't go through all of the planets here. You can hit me up, DM me if you want more information. But what I really like to focus on today is Scorpio on the cusps. Remember I said that your natal chart is divided into 12 different houses. It kind of looks like a pizza pie when you're kind of looking at it. And each of the lines on that natal chart represents a doorway. And we call those the cusps. And more than likely, you have a cusp that has Scorpio at the end. Some of you might actually even have two cusps that have Scorpio, and there's going to be a rare amount of you that actually don't have Scorpio. I'm not going to have time to get into that today, but again, if you want more information, DM me on Instagram or find me in my free Facebook group. You are all invited at the Savvy Luminary on Facebook. So wherever you have Scorpio on the cusp is where you are meant to harness your authentic Scorpio power, where you're supposed to be doing all of those Scorpio things. Like we talked about, eliminating the things that are not needed, getting to the bottom of the truth, trusting in your intuition, trusting into your deepest, shameful, most emotions that need to come to light, bringing the shame into light. In business, a lot of us have a ton of shame involved, whether it's money stories, right? Because business is about making money. We're all living with some sort of money shame and money beliefs. So, whatever shame needs to come up, that you can tap into your Scorpio to help you with that. I want you to do is I want you to look at your natal chart. I want you to find the cusp that has the Scorpio symbol. And of course, you can recognize the Scorpio symbol because it has the little scorpion little tail at the very end. And I'm going to read through what Scorpio means on the cusps. And so this is where in your business, where you're supposed to bring up all of these Scorpio energies. So if you are one of my many Scorpio risings, with the Scorpio on the first house cusp, if you have a Scorpio ascendant or rising, you are meant to lead and guide with your authentic power and intuition, right? So get really deep into understanding what your authentic power and intuition is and how you are meant to lead and guide others. Now, if you have Scorpio on the second house, you build value and add value in your business and your business promise with your authentic power and intuition. Now, if you have Scorpio on the third house, you promote and communicate, right? Your marketing messages, your brand voice with your authentic power and intuition. Now, if you have Scorpio on your fourth house or your IC, the lowest part of your chart, you root and belong in your authentic power and intuition. This is about creating safe spaces with your intuition. This is about creating like a safe home base and home foundation for your emotional safety as well as your business foundation. Now, if you have Scorpio on the fifth house, you celebrate and create with your authentic power and intuition. Now, one thing about the fifth house, right, in traditional astrology, this is about sex, or really the reproductive process of sex, right? The pleasure process, the creation of children part. So thinking about if you have Scorpio on the fifth house, having like the pleasure principle really close to your heart, and when you are working, accessing your intuitive and authentic power through your sex drive, right? Like that's kind of awesome. Now, if you have Scorpio on the sixth house, you serve and practice, serve others and practice daily with your authentic power and intuition. Right? Remember earlier, I was saying that I have sixth house Scorpio. And when I'm serving others, when I tap into my Scorpio-ness, when I tap into my intuition, I am so much more effective. Now, if you have Scorpio in the seventh house, you connect and relate through your intuition and authentic power, right? This is all about partnerships and commitments to others. If you have Scorpio in its home base of the eighth house, you trust and heal with your authentic power and intuition. Oh my goodness, I think that's so, so powerful. Now, if you have Scorpio in the ninth house, you believe and see your visions with your authentic power and intuition. If you have Scorpio in the 10th house, you promise and deliver with your authentic power and intuition, right? It's all about delivering your ultimate mission in your business and brand. Now, if you have Scorpio on the 11th house, this is your house of community building, of platform building, and you impact and change the world with your authentic power and intuition. Now, if you have Scorpio on the 12th house, this is coming back full circle right before rebirth, right? So this is about relaxation and restoration and bringing in more ease and flow. So you surrender and flow using your authentic power and intuition. Oh my goodness, I love that so much. There you go. So I'm curious to know where you have Scorpio, if you have any Scorpio powers, planets and energies, and if this rings true for you, right? Or, Scorpio, because Scorpio being the nature of Scorpio, if you have these energies and you're like, I don't know, you're kind of skeptical, I want you to sit with that and understand, where does that skepticism come from, right? Is this you not trusting in your own power? Okie dokie, let's get into the astrology of the week for October 18th through 24. Now, there's not thank goodness, we're still in Mercury retrograde, we're still in Mars retrograde, and we just had a new moon last week. So we're still riding high from that. And the new moon is so beautiful because last week it was in Libra, ruled by Venus. And all this week, Venus is everywhere, right? So I want to think about this week with the theme of Venus, and theme of Venus meaning to connect. If you set your new moon intentions next week, you set an intention to call in your collaborative partners. And now it's time to activate those seeds of intention. You can't just plant a seed and just expect it to magically do its own thing if you don't fertilize it, if you don't water it. So this is your week to fertilize and water those seeds of intention because of all these amazing Venus activations that are happening. All right. So first of all, again, Mars still retrograde, Mercury retrograde through Scorpio. On Sunday, we have 3 exact energies that are coming up. Sun squaring Saturn. So things, you're going to feel vibrant, but there's going to be this kind of creative boundary. You're going to have all these boundaries on that day. But if you understand that the boundaries are actually giving you freedom and you are exploring those edges of your creative freedom given those boundaries, you're going to find some amazing options coming up for you. We have our first Venus exact activation with Venus opposite Neptune. Now we're going to feel this, on and off the day before, the day after, because Venus is kind of moving pretty quickly. And as Venus is opposing Neptune in Pisces, oh my goodness, Venus in Virgo opposing Neptune. Now, both of these planets are beautiful, or energies are beautiful energies, right? Venus loves to create art and make beauty and connect. And Neptune is about flow and spirituality and imagination. So even though an opposition is an integration of these two beautiful energies, I feel it's just going to be this really mystical day. So use this beautiful day on Sunday to make some art. And with that Sun square aspect, Sun square Saturn aspect, give yourself these kinds of boundaries. So, if you're an artist and you're sketching or something, instead of using all of your color pencils, choose 2. Right? Or if you're a musician and you are warming up on your scales, instead of going through all of the circle of 12ths or something, make a song using only 2 notes. Those kinds of restrictions, Sun square Saturn, where you're finding tons of freedom because now you only have a couple of options, right? Also on Sunday, we have Mars square Jupiter. And so Jupiter is just like Venus and Neptune, one of those lovely energies that, whatever it touches, it just expands, right? And so even though squares tend to be kind of a little bit of conflict, Mars, the energy of fire and drive is going to feel expansive. So if you're feeling frustrated that day, Jupiter is going to expand it. If you're feeling energized and motivated, Jupiter is going to expand it. So there's lots of potential for some creative juices to be flowing on Sunday. So please use that. Then on the 19th, we have another Venus trining the first of the Capricorn stelliums. So again, Venus in Earth sign of Virgo will be supporting Jupiter in Capricorn. Again, you'll be feeling this a day before, a day after. And we mentioned whatever Jupiter touches, expands. Trines are harmonious flows. I feel them as the supportive energy. So again, thinking back, if you're planting your seeds of intention with Venus and connecting to others, how can you use this supportive energy today to maybe reach out to some of your co-creators and collaborators that you'd like to call in, right? Connect with them, invite them in. That same day on the 19th, Mercury will be opposite Uranus. Mercury about communications, going backwards. So as it comes forward later on at this month, Mercury is going to oppose Uranus also. Uranus about breakthroughs. So maybe you will have a breakthrough in your intuition. So really pay close attention and listen to your intuition and see if you have any breakthroughs come through that day on October 19th. On October 21st, that is on Wednesday, Venus will touch the second of the Capricorn stellium in a supportive trine with Pluto in Capricorn. So, Pluto likes to intensify things, and this trine, instead of being a headache, will be supportive. So whoever you're trying to connect with or create beauty with, Pluto is going to help you distill that and intensify it, right? Awesome. Very potent day. So October 22nd, right? This is when the sun enters Scorpio again at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. We will officially be in Scorpio season, even though Mercury is already in Scorpio. And we have second quarter moon. All right. So this is really when you need to hit the gas and take innovative action, right? Innovative Aquarius, second quarter moon, action, right? So we talked about planting your seeds from your intention and, starting to make those connections, but now put those plans into action and really activate those seeds of your intention. October 24th, we have Venus trining the last of the Capricorn stellium, Venus trining Saturn in Capricorn, exact that day on October 24th. Oh my goodness. So I love how Venus has just been, highlighting and pinging all of these energies, really saying, hey, I'm ready to connect. I'm ready to create. I'm ready to make magic happen. And with Saturn, it's just putting in the foundational systems and boundaries that you're going to be needing when you co-create, because there is nothing fails a co-creative process together without having boundaries. Who does what? When do things get done? Having those protections, might feel kind of inhibiting, but they really protect the collaborative process when people are really clear on their roles and responsibilities. Thank you, Saturn. So that is it for today's episode on Scorpio. I'd like us to close our episode here with our mantra. And, thank you for making space for this information to be received, this inspiration to be received. And just thank you for trusting me to provide you with this information. So today we shall close with our mantra. I am a channel and trust in my intuition to work through me. So I'd invite you to repeat after me. I am a channel and trust in my intuition to work through me. Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me again. And, tell a friend about this podcast if this has helped you in any way. Until next week, talk to you soon. Bye. Mahalo for listening to this brand new podcast. If you enjoyed learning about astrology for entrepreneurs, help me spread the word by sharing this podcast with your business besties, and hop over to the Savvy Luminary for links to episode notes and our free Facebook community where you can send me questions about astrology or branding, as well as connect with other like-minded businesses.